So the Native American them in America, because we know that the Native American them in Canada, we call them American, but a Canadian them, we don't know Canadian them. Them have them different names for them different tribe. Them supposed to get an apology, and they are going to collect, they have been collecting reparations. Now America is the problem now. America, them said, some of the chiefs them said need to apologize and pay reparation for the death of nearly 100,000 children. The children them was in the school them developed by the Anglican Church and the Roman Catholic Church. And as we speak, they are digging a whole heap of places where these schools used to be to find the bodies of these children who was taken there by the church to wipe out them culture and them language out of them head. In other words, to brainwash them into being European and accept Christianity. That is really what it was all about. Now it come to light that thousands of children died with the fathers them as pedophiles, abusing the children them, sexual abusing the children them. And when some of them dead, them bury them. And no one know about the church. Because the church is a cover up, the church is a cover up. And we're talking about the Anglican Church. The same church, you know. The same church. It just had one breakaway from the other one. The Anglican Church, which was the Anglican Church, was Henry VIII breaker from the Catholic Church. And from the Church of England is Anglican. It's the same church. They have the same rituals them in the church. But they are calling, the Native Americans is calling upon America to realize how important it is for them to apologize and pay reparations. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? It is familiar. That is where Europeans are all over the world. You know, see, that's where Europeans are all over the world. And the people them now is saying enough is enough. Because them dig up some and find 200 bodies in Canada. Them find bodies of children under the churches and the school rooms where they will have the pity them. Terrible, terrible thing. Okay.
On what happened on the 19th of December, when the government of the Netherlands made an apology for slavery and indicated that they were going to be involved in some type of reparative or healing process, as they called it. So within that context, on the 9th of January, have the Church of England, the Anglican Church in England, issue a report confirming that much of its current £10 billion endowment fund actually had its roots in the church having invested in a slave trading company in the first half of the 18th century. That the church was acknowledging this, they had investigated it, they were apologizing, and they would be setting up £100 million investment fund, basically a reparation fund to do investments in present day communities that have been negatively impacted by that history of criminality. And Pearson, one of the things that really impressed me about the Church of England statement was the strong moral foundation that they gave for the position that they had taken. And if I may just give a little quote, this is a joint statement was penned by the Bishop of Manchester, the Right Reverend Dr. David Walker, who is Deputy Chair of the Board of Governors of the Church Commissioners. The Church Commissioners is that entity that controls this massive endowment fund, and a Barbadian, Mr. Alan Smith, who is the first Church Estates Commissioner. He is basically the key person that deals with the investment of that massive fund. But this is what they said, and I quote them: "We believe every person is created in God's image. New Testament teaching is focused on God's desire for human beings to live in harmony. Justice, in this case, racial justice, must be part of, not distinct from, biblical theology. The concept of Sankofa, looking back to move forward to a better future enables us to make a commitment to truth telling, especially where historical truths are concerned. We are deeply saddened by the news. That's the news of the church's implication in enslavement. But recognize it enables us to set an example of moral leadership and meaningful action that other organizations committed to a better, fairer future could follow. End of quote. That impressed me, Pearson, that they have not skirted around the issue. Like we have seen the British government skirting around the issue, that slavery was legal and that kind of nonsense. They went right to the heart of it. The gospel of Jesus Christ tells us that this was a sin, that this was wrong, this was a crime against humanity, and we are not skirting it. We are admitting it. We are admitting institutional guilt. Our institution was involved. We are apologizing, and we are willing to make amends. And the importance of this, we could quibble about the £100 million fund, whether it should be more. Of course, I believe it should be more, but it's a start. But the importance of this is that it presents a challenge to those other institutions that have been skirting the issue. Now that the Anglican Church has come out with this very clear moral position, how do you respond, British government? How do you respond? All those companies and institutions that were similarly implicated. So this is very important. This, in my opinion, is an extremely important development. The church looked into a fund that they had in the early 18th century called Queen Anne's Bounty, and the fact that they took this fund back then and they invested it in shares and annuities in the South Sea Company, which was a private public British company that was trading slaves to the Spanish colonial empire. And incidentally, Barbados and Jamaica were the two focal points in the Caribbean. The slaves were brought from Africa. They were brought to Barbados in the Southern Caribbean, Jamaica in the Northern Caribbean, and then they were transshipped from these two Caribbean islands all over this hemisphere, to Argentina, to Colombia, to Venezuela, to Cuba, all of these Spanish possessions. So Barbados is central to this story. But we should be very clear. This is only one component of the Church of England's involvement in slavery. Their involvement goes way beyond that. I mean, the Church of England actually owned slaves, and particularly in Barbados. Christopher Codrington, he bequeathed his plantations, Society Plantation. It became the Society Plantation. He bequeathed it to the Anglican churches, the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel in Foreign Parts. That's how it became Society. So the Church of England became a major slave owner, and the records show that they treated their slaves extremely badly. When the British government abolished slavery and compensated the slave owners, it was discovered that some 100 Anglican clerics received compensation money as slave owners. The Church of England itself received compensation money as slave owners. And then there's also the damage that was done by the church perpetuating a theology of Black inferiority to justify enslavement. So I say all of that to make the point that the £100 million, which is really 1% of the church has a £10 billion endowment fund. I think that should be seen as a start. But what they have said is that they intend to create a permanent fund And this permanent fund, they will be investing, and much of that investment will be grant funding in projects that will make a difference, a positive difference in the lives of African descendant communities, communities that exist today, but that are the descendants of enslaved Africans of the past, and whose lives would have been blighted by slavery and the slave trade. They have also said that they will be including representatives of our African and African diaspora communities in a committee that will run how this fund is used and what kind of investments are made, so that we will have an input in determining what projects are to be funded. So we are moving in the right direction, Pearson. We see this as a start, as a very positive start. But as I said, it now throws down the challenge, because that South Sea Company was created by the British government. The British government invested heavily in it. So if the Anglican Church is saying, by our involvement in this company, our investment in this company, we owe reparations, then what about you, British government? The British royal family, Queen Anne, the reigning monarch at the time, was allocated 22.8% of the company's stock. When she died, her successor, King George I, he inherited her stock and he purchased even more. And virtually every member of the royal family was an investor in that company. Then the whole of the British establishment, almost every member of the House of Commons, half of the members of the House of Lords, the literary icons of Britain, Jonathan Swift, Alexander Pope, Daniel Defoe, scientists, Isaac Newton, they all invested in this slave trading company. The founder of the Bank of England was one of the major investors. So the Anglican Church has set an example, and that is going to challenge all of these entities. What are you going to do now? Are you going to follow the example of the Anglican Church, or are you going to continue to try to skirt your moral responsibility?
Back to Jamaica now. You remember there was a alabaloo about this apartment skyscraper building that them a build in a Rutland Road. We don't know where a $48,000, $48,000 for one of the building them, for one of the apartment them. It is there for everybody to see it. Now, hear what happened now. A little rainfall the other day, and guess what? It's them car they were going there, the Benz them and this and that.
You are listening to the Black Radar YouTube channel.
Overrun
Hit
the
that
place.
subscribe button and keep listening.
You cannot go in or out. Them have to get sandbag. This is a 40. This is 40. And not only there, whenever I mention that. Some of the apartment them a leak. A LHT house them, you know, for upscale people. Upscale people. 48,000, 38,000 for one of them. And the people them buy them place. And little rain, I don't like big rainfall, you know, a little bit of rainfall, you know. The people them have to put sandbag. Imagine that. And them car, like really, the car them come up to the bonnet. And some of them are leak. Who will take responsibility for all them thing there? I must say NHT, which go right back to the government again. Rutland Road, same road there. We lead you back by Half a Tree Road. We carry you back round to Waterloo, not Waterloo, Trafalgar Road. Yeah, man. It's a terrible thing for you buy house of them money there at them time, yeah. I'm going to find, say, the house a leak and you can't park, you can't. If can. So when the big rain start come, soon, like next year, when the big rain them start come, where the people them are going to do? Where the people them are going to do? It's a serious thing. Okay, so here we go. Ama, A-M-A, Ama, most ancient. Binta, B-I-N-T-A, Binta, with God. Bisa, B-I-S-A, Bisa means greatly loved. And Ide, E-D-E means sweetness. So that's Ama, A-M-A, Ama means most ancient. Binta, B-I-N-T-A means with God. Bisa, B-I-S-A means greatly loved. And Idi, E-D-E means sweetness. Male name, Mamadi, Mamadi. Mamadi, M-A-M-A-D-I, Mamadi means worshipper. Adrisa, Adrisa. A-D-R-I-S-S-A, Adrisa means immortal. Nyameka, Nyameka, N-Y-A-M-E-K-Y-A, Nyameka means Jah gift. And Karamoko, Karamoko, K-A-R-A-M-O-K-O, Karamoko means studious. So that's Mamadi, Mamadi, M-A-M-A-D-I means worshipper. Adrisa, I-D-R-I-S-S-A, Adrisa means immortal. Nyameka, Nyameka, N-Y-A-M-E-K-A, sorry, N-Y-A-M-E-K-Y-A means Jah gift. And Karamoko, K-A-R-A-M-O-K-O. Then we hear this thing about cell phone and go to style and fashion. Them have a new thing named Valpy. It's them $2,000 phone. So the people might come, hey, they might come with something, you know, you just say something, you know. And you just have radiation will pick up that and send it to a satellite and then go through it. You don't have to use nothing in your hand and nothing all up in your ears and all them something. Watch them. You see them people there? Them are implant human embodies in a robot. What me say? Them are implant humans in a robot. The embodies of the human being in a robot. Hoping say eventually. And them are put real flesh per robot, no, you know. Yeah, them are put real flesh per robot. I mean, so when you see the robot, you think it's a person. But underneath that skin is machine. You think them people are easy. That is really where the world are going now. There's something going on with the leaders in Africa. I find them start, a whole part of them work together with one another. I don't know if you see it, but yeah, the African leaders them seem to be doing things together. Even at the conference, the climate conference the other day, we see them kind of come to a conclusion about money to be spent on climate thing, and them are asked, a group of them are asked, the bigger countries should do more because them are create the problem, like America and China. Them is the biggest pollution of the year. Them should do more, and I find that the leaders them in Africa call upon that, which is very interesting, very interesting. Okay.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.